Hey, so my guess, I can only speak for myself. I can only speak for myself, right? But I do feel like I've had to go and learn this Bible for myself. Um, I am aware that black churches, not all of them, some of them, we have a culture that is not immediately understood and often misinterpreted. I understand that the black church was formed in response to the white church repressing us closely after slavery. You think as a church that believes in like what First Corinthians 7:21, if you can get your freedom from slavery, you can get it. From churches, most I would like to think those folks who were slave owners were church going folks. During civil rights, all this other stuff throughout our history, there is a divide of black and white churches. Should there have been ever been a divide of race and church? No. I like to think is a great thing for church abolitionists. But our history is very, very messy. Our American history is very messy. That being said, our churches have been a bastion for let's just say black survival, a collective black survival, a hub of hope, a hub of encouragement. And it makes sense that some false teachings have crept into it and has almost created a gospel of odd prosperity. But the thing is, you have to understand is that our culture, especially our people, are generally one of the poorest in America. So if you're not going to encourage them with just the word, you will encourage them with some form of economic stability, some hope of economic boost and stability. I believe this is akin to the Maslow hierarchy of needs. At the very bottom, you have your basic needs, and at the very top, you have your more metaphysical needs. What happens if you have lack of resources and you can't really prioritize as much of the spiritual needs? Well, you prioritize more of the physical needs. So, in my opinion, this is where a notable portion of our churches have centered in materialism. Here's one positive reflection of like liberation theology or even just like conscious church believing, whatever you want to call it. Martin Luther King, he had socialist values. He had values that supported workers' rights, not just the content of your character like most folks want to just attribute him to and use him as a deflecting point for not pointing out racial issues, even though what spurred the one of the things that spurred the civil rights was church bombings and that killed this little girl. It's a shame. But this ignorance now more so, and it's really unfortunate that even now the ignorance and arrogance of some individuals will try to paint black people to be all one thing. They say most black churches are this. No, these are black churches that you know. I don't believe in prosperity preaching. I was around some of those conventions, not so much conventions, but the wave of reform theology when it hit CHH, and everybody was trying to talk like John Piper. Now, mind you, yes, I was not like the biggest guy there. I was probably like one of the smaller guys who was just attending the conferences. But to sit here and say all of them talk about prosperity, not all of them, most of them talk about prosperity preaching is foolish. It's really foolish. If you talk to some black people that weren't assimilated into the culture, but has a sense of self, a better sense of self, and I'm not trying to dog this lady's friend who's black, but black people are not just this monolith. We have commonalities, we have things we understand, we recognize, we share, but we have also our own nuance. And I think that's what I want to fight for in this video, is just like we have nuance. This also includes our churches. This also includes our churches. So when I hear two women who are outside the church or outside the culture of being black people, African Americans, or whoever wants to identify with a black experience, maybe a sense of Pan Africanism, or even a sense of minorities, that kind of pushes back on this narrative of Christian white nationalism, because it is a thing, unfortunately. I'm not saying the majority of the churches feel it, but I do. When I did hear this complaint, it did smell like conservatives who want to protect this white dominance, you know. And I don't think I've met some great white people. I've met some very thoughtful white individuals, some people who just happen to be white, true blue Christian individuals. I've also met some not so bright or kind or decent black individuals. I've met the spectrum of a lot of individuals. Doesn't really matter what race or whatever. But I'm meaning to say is that irregardless of this difference and these differences of experiences, and in as much as I would definitely try to understand a black friend talking to a white person, inventing like, hey man, this is so different. I'm so glad that I'm in this particular space that seems to be more my speed, in that some aspects of the black church are not my speed. I understand that, but I don't like it when people don't understand the full context of what they're saying. They just take whatever a few individuals said, or even the token minority says, and they run with it and they say, oh, well, he said it. Some folks also do this weird thing where they say, oh, well, I'm not trying to ruin your culture. I'm just trying to appreciate your culture. And look, Broham over there, who's from that culture, said it's cool. It's just like, don't do that. If people say they're offended about it, at least hear them out. Instead of just doing whatever you want. Because that's, again, especially in the church, that's irresponsible. So that's all I got.